Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. And I am Lluís Ariño. I am a digital strategist at Rovira Virgili University. That's a public university in the south of Catalonia, the south of Barcelona. But I'm also leading the Education and Professional Qualifications Work Package, so-called Work Package 5, at the Digital Credentials for Europe large-scale pilot in the context of the Eidas2. Today, we will explore how digital credentials can transform and will transform, hopefully, lifelong learning in Europe. But before we dive into technicalities and solutions, let me also start with a fundamental question that should shape, let's say, how we think about education. Does learning belong to the learner? I think most of us should say yes, right? But however, right, our current systems tell a different story. And let me share a real story with a real example that will highlight the three major challenges that currently our systems are still, let's say, there. So let me introduce Jacob. Jacob is a Maltese guy that just wants to also enroll in a master, let's say, program in the Netherlands. His story highlights these three big challenges. First, to enroll on the Netherlands, right? Jacob had to pay the initial university just to get access to their own achievements. So to be able to share his achievement to the new university, Jacob had to pay. Even if he paid 10,000 or thousands of euros, right, for tutoring, he need to pay again to share with the new university his own achievement. This is a real use case. Second, even after paying, the receiving university was not able to validate digitally the shared, let's say, achievement, because the way on how it was made accessible was not accepted by the country. So this is the second challenge. And the third one, the entire process for verification was manual, on a manual basis. So the staff of the Netherlands University, right, need to search, need to make phone calls to the previous university, to the primary one, right, to double check things, right, and do all the process, right, in a manual basis, spending a lot of times and just to check basic information. This is Jacob's story, but it's not just about Jacob, right? This is the reality for thousands of students around Europe every year. So, to understand why these problems persist today, let's step back and let's look how the educational systems currently work. Let's look at typical, let's say, learning journey. From the citizen perspective, right, education is a continuous path. The early education, maybe also higher education, right? And then moving into the professional development space, right? So clear, right? One path. But our institutions operate in silos, right? Each primary, secondary education, each university, each training provider maintains separate systems, separate credentials, separate processes. As institutions, of course, we might only see one piece, hopefully two, right, of this journey. But for the citizen, it's all part of their personal learning pathway, right? While this complexity, right, is challenging at institutional level, it becomes even more complicated when we zoom out at the European scale. The complexity multiplies at the European level, where different directorates, agencies, institutions, right, each of them manage their own piece of the educational landscape. Often, not just without proper coordination between different directorates generals, right? But also within the same directorate with a proper coordination with related initiatives. Doesn't make sense at all, but it's a reality. Shouldn't we flip this perspective, right? Shouldn't we organize, instead of organizing around institutions, shouldn't we organize around the learner? That's, I think, what we should do, right? What if we could turn this entire model upside down? What if we put the learner at the center of everything? Let's imagine for a moment, right, a future where the learners are the ones that own their own credentials, where sharing qualifications is as easy as sharing your ID, where verification happens instantly, and where privacy is protected by design. That's what should be. So let's imagine, right, that Jacob, right, really is in full control of his credentials, hosting and maintaining and sharing his credentials, sharing the credentials in a disclosure way, right, selecting only the required information based on the service that he wants to get access to. Let's imagine also the issuers that don't need to be directly reached to verify the credential. So they shouldn't be aware of the usage of what has been issued, right? But of course, they still need to be able to maintain the life cycle of the credential for revocation, for suspension, because these are several statuses that are realities at the European level in some of the member states, not all of them, right? Does it make sense to you? I think so, right? So to turn this framework into reality, Europe has launched, let's say, a framework. This framework, or to enable this framework, is the Eidas framework. Eidas brings two major changes to Europe's digital learning, digital credentials. On the one side, a legal framework. A legal framework for identity and trust services. On the other side, mandatory implementation for all member states. And let me also highlight this. When we are talking about identity, we are talking about the legal EID regime. That means, and only applies for identity issued by member states related authority, like your national smart card ID, let's say, right? Now there will be a new beast in place. It's called the PID, personal identification data. This will be a new EID means, but for first time over Europe, this new EID means will be mandatory for all member states to issue, up to the citizens to choose it, right? But this enables a new way, for example, on how to enroll students. Because if you request the PID as one of the options, you can onboard, you can enroll not just national citizens, but also any European citizen. So this is a new also opportunity. So what about electronic attestations of attributes? That's data. Eidas2 extends from identity and introduces data. And this creates, for the first time, a unified foundation for digital credentials across Europe. Now, there will be a harmonized way on how to manage both things. But this, of course, is not easy. So to turn, let's say, this framework into reality, what the European Commission, together with member states, did is launch a comprehensive approach of 4 parallel tasks. The legal framework, that is, first version is already closed. The technical specifications for compliance, the mandatory implementing acts, the technical specificities must be complying with, that only can refer to existing standards, the reference implementation of the so-called European Digital Identity Wallet, I will go to that later, and large-scale pilots, right, to test and refine the whole system. So, among, let's say, previous, sorry, yes, I'm this. So, the European Digital Identity Wallet, right, is the game changer. Think of it as a secure digital store, right, content, right, to store a container to store your credentials, educational ones, identity ones, legal EID ones, and also any type of electronic attestations of attributes. All under full control of the owner, all instantly verifiable, and all, of course, being designed on privacy by design. I was talking before about the large-scale pilots. So, currently, there are 4 large-scale pilots running around Europe. Potential, that takes care of mobile driving licenses. EWC, that works on travel documentation. Novit, that concentrates on payments. And DC4U. I will go deeper on that later, so I will not go now. But be aware that each pilot should help to ensure that when we will roll out all these systems, right, they will work seamlessly for real people in real environments. That's the main purpose of the large-scale pilots. What DC4U focuses on? DC4U focuses on 2 main, let's say, domains. Education and professional qualifications on the one side. And here we take care of course, educational credentials, meaning master degrees, primary, secondary education, vocational educational training, higher universities, and also, of course, professional qualifications, qualifications, yes, licenses, and also non-foundational identities. So when we talk in education about educational IDs, be aware, we are under the legal trust services regime. We are not talking about legal EID. So that's electronic attestation of attributes. But that can help, because at the end, at the moment, we only have identified 2 main situations when we need high level of assurance to prove your identity. On the onboarding, for sure. When we will enroll some citizen in the educational domain, to be a student, to be a staff, whatever, right? And the other point is when a citizen wants to request the issuance of the official formal diploma. Then you need to be sure who is requesting that, and that is the one that also is entitled to request that. For any other thing, and that's how education plays as per today, we use the so-called educational IDs. But that links to the legal trust services, legal regime, not legal EID. So, the other domain that we are taking care of is social security. And for that, we are covering the portable document A1, that's for workers that work abroad, right? And then the European health insurance card. I will try to run. So with these domains, our vision goes beyond, let's say, just digitizing the existing documents, right? This isn't just about storing diplomas on a wallet, right? It's about creating a comprehensive record of all your learning achievements, right? And you being able to share that with you and share it when you want to whoever you need. To enable that, we need, to enable this reality, this vision, we need an underlying infrastructure. So let me share what we are working behind the scenes. To make this really work in practice, we are building a system that is able to support existing educational governances, plural, governances, entitlement governance, how a legal entity plays a role in education as an educational institution, a university, secondary school, whatever. Then also the quality assurance in Europe, quality assurance domain, governance for higher education, for vocational educational training, and so on. It has its own governance, and there are credentials that mix both governance, right? When a university issues a master that contains also an institutional quality assurance, accreditation, or program level, that's a combined credential with two governances. The underlying infrastructure needs to be able to support both. And then, of course, the non-foundational identity governances, because some of them has their own governance. The underlying infrastructure needs to be able to support all of them, right? And the system also needs to be able to enable machine-readable verification, enhancing privacy. So not reaching the issuer to ask about the status of a credential. That also needs to be supported. I will go fast. So we have the infrastructure. Then we need another thing. We need to be sure that all the credentials will speak the same language. And that's where our work on electronic attestation of attributes comes in. We are also, one of the key deliverables that we will provide is a sectorial catalog of electronic attestation of attributes. That means European Commission level, sectorial level, member state level, even regional level. We'll provide how a master looks like at sectorial level. What are the mandatory fields? What are the optional ones? But also we need to allow member states a space for extension, right? Because that's a reality. So that also will be done. And we have the infrastructure, we have the standards. That's not enough. We need to ensure that all these things will be available and proper toolkits, documentation, tools, needs to be available for all institutions to really be able to adopt this. That's what we also will provide. Some of the converters have already been reported before, so we will not dive into that, but be aware. We are providing these converters bidirectional. So it's not just ELM to open batches, also open batches to ELM and so on. We are also providing these gateways to ensure that existing systems will also be able, right, to speak the same language and be able to speak with a wallet. All of this technical work at the end is only for one purpose, right? To create real benefits for real people. So for citizens, we will bring full control over their credentials, easy sharing and verification, enhanced privacy, and simplified mobility. While these benefits for citizens, right, are compelling, educational institutions also stand to gain with reduced administrative burdens, with automated verification, with enhanced security, and with better student service. Beyond the educational sector, right, the system creates also new opportunities for employers with instant qualification checks, with reducing high risks, with access to verified credentials and streamlined recruitment. And when we combine all these things, right, all these benefits, we enable also something even more powerful. True educational mobility across Europe, not just for students, also for workers, right? So seamless recognition across borders, faster application processes, reduce bureaucracy, and enhanced opportunities. As you can see, we are not just building technical system. We are providing real lifelong learning educational interoperability across Europe. Sorry for the extension.
Okay, so I have one question for you. Is how do you deal with the idea that when you receive a credential, it could evolve the object itself? For example, when you receive a credential in your wallet, you would be able to show that there are 5,000 people who have the same credential. That out of these 5,000 credentials, 4,000 have been endorsed by employers. And so basically, the information you have in your wallet would be a connection to information which is beyond your wallet. Is it something you have considered?
Yes. Several things. Because here also the other regulations, European regulations apply. That means also GDPR, means privacy, and all this stuff. But, well, it was not for today, but I can also explain. There are a lot of set of initiatives. One of the key initiatives in Europe that links with this idea of how skills, how competences, right, and so on, will fit with the different actors, being an educational institution, just providing what skills are more demanded, so maybe also to improve their learning, offering, and so on. But also from a student or citizen perspective, to improve my learning and so on. Data spaces, that's the European data spaces. There's a European skill data space. One of the connectors that has already been identified is the wallet. And being the citizen in a sovereign way, right, able to share their own credentials, their skills, well, any type of credentials. Skills, competence can be one, right? Also, it can be established, if you want to do it, let's say, with or without your consent. You can also sign an agreement when you want to share something. If you or you provide with explicit consent, that means that when someone, an employer, whoever, right, will try to get access to that, you will be asked to share that, to give consent for that sharing, right? Because the skills, whatever you have shared, is in this data space. So, yes, on the one side, you will be able to share your things, but I think that the important thing is that you are in full control, not just give consent to something to be shared. You are in full control to share your own credentials. And I think that's the important thing.
Bonsoir. On dit souvent que l'enfer est pavé de bonnes intentions. J'ai une vision du professeur Xavier avec son outil cérébraux. Et je me demandais s'il n'y avait pas un risque de contrôle de la population avec un tel outil. Alors, on est en démocratie, il n'y a pas de problème. Mais que ferait, par exemple, la Corée du Nord avec ça?
I'm so sorry, but I don't speak French. I'm so sorry for that.
Yes,
you can translate.
So is there a risk of control, and could it be like what would Northern Korea do with a system like that? Could it be a system to control citizens? Yes.
Okay, you mean if the UDI wallet can be a means for central authorities to take control about the citizens, about the users and so on? You mean that? Yes? Okay. It's been designed.
If you don't want to share, maybe it means you want to hide something. So you'll be kind of forced to show things.
Well, several things. On the one side, it's mandatory for member states to provide at least one wallet. There will be several member states will adopt different strategies for that, right? Some member states will provide a national UDI wallet, and that will be the one to use, full stop. Other member states, what we'll do is, okay, these are the technical requirements that any UDI compliant wallet must fit, and the market will provide. That's another option. There will be also authority, common criteria requirements, and so on. But in any case, one of the tracks that I share, the technical, let's say, track, what is trying to provide are all the requirements ensuring that privacy by design is on the core design of the solution. So that's what they say. issuers should not be able to know what has been issued. Someone that issues something should not be able to track what wallet, who is the owner of the wallet that I'm talking about. Of course, this is not easy. There are several things that are still under definition and development on the Eudiw wallet because of that and because of lack of standards related to that. Let's say that there are several things in parallel, but one of the important ones are the standards. As per today, the only more or less full, still not, but more or less full standards that are related to the Eudiw wallet are the ISO 8013/5/7. That's ISO and MDL. That's, for me, non-privacy compliant. But there are other also things moving forward. Like, for example, OpenID, Connect, and so on, and verify credentials. But then, also it's important to identify what are open standards and what not. And for me, the ones from W3C, the ones for open badges, W3C-BC, W3C-BCDM, verify credentials data model, are the ones to follow, right? Because that also means rich linked data, rich semantics. We need that in education, right? Other flavors are not going on that. So let's see what happens, because also we need to differentiate, as I said, between identity, that's legally ID regime, and electronic attestation of attributes. So things are in place, yes, and I just want to highlight, regulation is more advanced in privacy, ensuring privacy for citizens, than the technical track. That's the reality, But at the end, the technical track must align with the regulation, not the other way around. So that's why I think that still there will be, the first wallet will be there, for sure. But I think we still need 4 to 5 years to have full compliant wallets with the law. And not to discuss right now, but also be aware. On the trust services regime, on electronic attestation of attributes, we will have 3 main types. Qualified electronic attestation of attributes. That's exclusive for qualified trust service providers. Non-educational institution will establish themselves as a qualified trust service provider. Doesn't make sense. Due to security requirements, security procedures, and so on. Doesn't make sense. That's a regulated market that is still there. Second type of electronic attestation of attributes, public sector body. I will close. Public sector body. I think non-educational institution will establish themselves or will be identified by a state as a public sector body in charge of an authentic source due to the security, procedure, requirements, and so on. So where are we playing on electronic attestations of attributes? And for that, we have things in place to do things properly today.